Hello, trendsetters from around the world. I'm Lena Rodriguez, coming to you from Australia. Now, before we launch into today's readings and your questions, do have to acknowledge that Prince Philip passed this week. As a human being, may he rest in peace. Okay, real name, Filippo Andreou. Why? Because he was born in Greece to German and Russian parents. His mother was a Battenberg, and so in 1947 he decided to change his name to Mountbatten to sound more English. And this is why I'm wearing my revolutionary beret today, because it just goes to show, if only these far righters and things, particularly in the UK, realise the royal family, hardly any of the royal family have been English in the sense we would understand it, right? Even Richard the Lionheart, the famous Richard the Lionheart, only ever spent 6 months in England and didn't speak English and found it really primitive. He was a French speaker from the French court and he was bored and horrified by what he found in England. So this is how these myths and things build up over the years to supply a narrative to keep people docile. Right? Richard the Lionheart couldn't have given a flying toss about the Brits. Right? In fact, was their mortal enemy for much of his life. But I digress. Prince Philip, Filippo. That leaves Prince Charles. Now, Prince Charles is currently the Prince of Wales. And I've only got 2 words to say about that, and that's Plaid Cymru. Any Welsh viewers will know exactly what I'm meaning. So he now becomes the Duke of Edinburgh, as well as the Prince of Wales. So I'm sure the Scottish nationalists will be singularly unmoved by this. I mean, really, it's just such folly. Let me turn up my speaker a bit. There we go. Now, your questions this week concerned Ted Cruz, AOC, and Joe Manchin. He's a worry. He's a dino, isn't he? Democrat in name only, you know. He's the one who's a token Dem, but opposes getting rid of the filibuster and all of that, you know. Who's paying Joe Manchin's holiday fund, I wonder? So we'll be looking at those things. And another question was, we can't quite leave the Yeti alone yet. We're weaning from the Yeti. What's happening with Trump.org? Okay, and the offspring of. So we'll whip through the first ones. I don't understand why Ted Cruz is still there, but I thought the formula I'd use is, where will Ted Cruz be a year from now, AOC and Joe Manchin? So let's look at them. Ted Cruz, first off the rank, Ted Cruz. Oh, dreadful human. Okay, Ted Cruz. I'm using the Russian cards because I'm a bit cranky. All right. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. Well, I'm sort of happy about this. I know, call me jaundiced, call me cynical. One shouldn't get pleasure in other people's misery. And in the bigger picture, I have a higher self. But in the context of reading on someone like Ted Cruz, these cards bring joy to my cynical heart. Okay, it starts with right now, which is the death card. So as readers, we struggle to say, oh, please, it doesn't mean literal death, la, 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 la. But it's still a hugely significant card, and it is the passing away of something that has gone before, certainly, like having a life as a politician. And it is the end for Ted Cruz. Interesting, because he seems to be hanging on, but this is speaking to an irrevocable ending. He gets the comfortable guy card. You know, this is a person dining alone. This would indicate to me that he is very isolated, right? A lot of these people will be finding their phone calls aren't being returned. So I think this is Cruz dining alone symbolically. And, you know, his popularity has fallen away completely, but he's managed to cling on to his position for now, or at least until it comes up for grabs. Can someone please tell me in comments how long it is before his seat comes up? Thank you. You guys are fantastic. I love the comments and all of that. Now, look what's going on here. This is someone, this is backroom dealings, right? And someone being told, you better get back into line or we're going to have to do something about it. He's not listening. He's not going to. But he's the focus of a bit of angst from other GOPers. You see, this is the dilemma they're under. I digress, viewers. As one after the other comes up for legal things and immoral things and all the things they allegedly stood for, their ranks are getting thinner and thinner. So he's in trouble, but he's not listening, you know, just like so many others. And his outcome card, Spadfota, the Knight of Swords. This is, I think there'll be some leaks about some Cruz corruption, right? Some leaks will finally do the damage. Okay, so that's the truly awful Ted Cruz. Now, I'll move to my other cards for AOC, but for now, I'll stick with these and do Joe Manchin. He's very powerful because of holding that balance of power. And from, I seem to remember a reading I did before, it might have been on one of the collaborations. That's what he gets off on, the power. You know, that he has so much sway. He's, I mean, if you close your eyes, can you even picture his face? He's such a non-entity, and yet he occupies this. He's probably, in terms of actual power, second or third most powerful man in the world, because he can stop the Dems doing what they need to do. That's power. So he's important. Doesn't stop him being dreary. So let's look at Joe Manchin. In all his ghastliness, Joe Manchin. Joe Manchin. What have you got to say for yourself, Joe Manchin? All right, come on down. Yes, he's a ribbon slipper. Oh, he better be careful. At the moment, he has a ceremonial role, right? The ribbon snipper and the vote snipper and the everything snipper, you know, so he has that role for now. But he's going to be put back in his coffin, so to speak, as the hermit. You know, 10 minutes. That's followed by the Eight of Pentacles here, the Apprentice card, working very hard at whatever he's doing. But I don't think that means his congressional work or the work for the people he represents. It's him. And in this, someone's typing furiously. I think this is him trying to maximize the good deals he can get from other right-wing people to keep him in this role. I wonder if he has some Russian connections myself. Does anyone know anything about that? Okay, and to finish with Manchin, who I think is not just a middle-of-the-road guy. It's not that. He's much more power-mad than you would dream of. Look, this is hitting everyone else over the head with a hammer. I think he's going to exploit this to the max, but I also think he's trying to get money to feather his own nest post-retirement or to fund a lifestyle we don't know about yet or whatever. There's money here, some very grubby money around Manchin. So investigative journalists, off you go, and please try and find the dirt on Manchin. Now, nicer cards for AOC because she doesn't deserve them. I'll return to my normal cards here, which, by the way, are fake shifters. That's what they're called. I don't know if you can see in this light. Fake shifters. They're almost identical to the Rider-Waite. Okay, so AOC a year from now, what fell out? Group work. So at the moment she's towing the line, which is appropriate. Until things settle down, that's fine. But at the moment, she's in the tent. So a year from now. AOC a year from now. AOC a year from now. AOC. It's not going to be easy for her. It's not easy at all, because now she's in the political world. It's one of total compromise, and I think she was hoping to do more than she has been able to do. But we're living in very complex times, and America itself is so vulnerable for so many reasons. She's still fighting the good fight, but people aren't really listening. By that, I mean high-powered Dems. They are doing some things that are more progressive than anyone would have thought, but this is the conflict she keeps on having. It doesn't sort. So that's that 5 of Wands card. She gets a burst of energy, I'd say maybe the end of this year, and her profile will zoom up again, and she's more optimistic, and she thinks, oh, I can have a breakthrough. But she has to evaluate, will they let me get away with, you know, this, or will they do more of what was on my agenda that got me elected? It's an evaluation card, the 7 of Pentacles. And they come back to her, the senior Dems. Thanks for that, Alexandra, but, you know, and she's not happy with what they come up with, right? I have to say that. So what I'll do now is just have a quick look at Trump.org, because now the prosecutors in New York are looking very closely at Barry Weiselberg, who's the son of the main money guy for Trump.org. It's laughable. He's been the manager of the skating rink in Manhattan. Is it Manhattan? It's one of the boroughs anyway. Because Trump sort of made a name for himself. It was apparently an abandoned sort of lot, and it was dirty and chaotic, and he was saying, this is a disgrace, I'll turn it into a skating rink. Well, then he got all the workers in to do that and didn't pay the subcontractors. Typical. And since it's been open, which is years, cash only. Do you know anything else that these days, outside of some very suspicious exchanges, that are cash only? So dear Barry, he's been in charge of that. Now his ex-wife, is it Joanne? She's the one who is cooperating with the FBI. And she's the one who said, Trump gave us an apartment and then you're tied to him because he has provided your home. This was one of his techniques. Right? So all of this was about Weisselberg's son, who I think didn't limit himself to skating rinks. So they're hoping to flip Weisselberg. Personally, I think he's already gone to that side. But let's have a look and just see how these indictments are travelling for Trump or generally. Next video, I'll do Ivanka, Don Jr. and what's his face. Okay, so for now, the Trump org behind the scenes legal cases. What's happening behind the scenes for Trump org? Behind the scenes legal cases. Now, oh, tarot can be amusing. This is so them. Oh, my God. Right. So this Russian deck is called the 12 Chairs deck, right? Because it's based on a famous Russian play in the 30s, because the only way to criticize the regime during Stalin's time or anything else was to talk in code and through theatre and other things. So one of the codes was how people tear chairs apart to look for what's inside the hidden jewels. Now, this is fighting over, God, I've got a weird light here. This is fighting over a chair. So this is, the question was the legal stuff. I think that there could be issues legally with who's legally looking at this and who's looking at that and who's looking at that. I think there's a bit of argy-bargy, which is Australian slang for toing and froing and arguments about who handles what. Regardless, see the hand in the chair? I hope you can see this. Searching for the jewels. So they're all looking. This is the follow the money card, basically, right? Keep it simple. It goes back a long way. It goes back a long, long way, and it involves the children. Don't like the term children when you're talking about middle-aged trumpets. But let's say the demon spawn of the Yeti, it goes way back to their childhoods. It's a chess game. This is, I think, the legal thing I was talking about here. There's a bit of fight over delineation of who's handling what, and it's a chess game. I think it's further a chess game in terms of when do they start issuing subpoenas, when do they start the arrests, when do they start the next stage. So even though the Yeti is now confined to his compound in Mar-a-Lago, he may as well be under house arrest because nowhere else in the world wants him, nowhere else in America wants him. And let's just look at it as house arrest in Mar-a-Lago. So he's in a weird state at the moment, isn't he? In the sense he still does have power and influence on the GOP, but it is waning. But they're still meeting at Mar-a-Lago. I mean, they too are cult members. But we've got to remember the bigger picture, intrepid viewers. And that is, if the Republican Party had stood up to him early on, things would have gone in a different direction, but they didn't for a bigger cosmic reason. And that party's been rotten to the core for a long, long time. The Dems also need to smarten up, and bringing them into real people's lives. I think they've got a bit detached too. But with the GOP, they have to realise that it's time, and some of them are talking about it. They've got to actually come out and say out loud, we do not support QAnon, for example. Someone said during the week that QAnon has been revealed. Let's just quickly ask that. The guy they identified, is he really QAnon or not? I don't know. Has Q been identified? Has Q been identified? Has Q been identified? Oh, interesting cards. Very interesting cards. I would say no, not yet, hanging around. But these are luminous cards. Soon, these are people in the thrall of QAnon, as far as I'm concerned in this reading. The sun will be shone on the QAnon thing, and the money will be revealed. Where did the money come from? How much money did Q make or not make? I just heard not make. I think the real Q, whoever that is, might be one or two people, who knows, thought they could make a killing, probably did make a bit of money, but considering how it's destabilised the entire of the Western world, they haven't made as much money as they thought, and they're a bit cheesed off about it. Okay. Now, beloved intrepid viewers, I'm open again for readings. So if you want a reading, please get in touch. You can have a general reading, general life questions, and or a past life reading. So it's up to you. So if that's you, email me. So I'll see you soon, soon, soon. Bye for now. Ciao.